Oh no, now the knee. Well, that was it. Manu, what's he done there? He's sold the dummy with a knee injury. It's a fake knee injury. That is set up a try for Momirovski.
It's the next tackle. He gets an offload. He goes back and gets the football. Probably feels a cramp coming on in the back of his calf. And then just takes off.
Oh, what a beauty. So, you pick which has been the better moment. The bloke kicking the ball back from the traffic at the southern end, or Manu, the cramp, the fibber, and takes off to set up a try.
Righto, welcome back, ladies and gents, to another episode of the Supercoach Tragics podcast. I'm your host, Dan, coach of Badonkadonk. Tonight, actually, I wanted to say something that I should have said a long time ago. Glenn, mate, you've been giving us advice for years now, all year through, and I've graciously accepted that advice, and now I'm comfortably in the top 500.
Nice.
So now it's time for me to give you some advice.
Oh, that's it.
I've got two tips, mate, two tips for you, okay? You can pick either one. Number one, start giving me bad advice so you look better in comparison. Or two, and bear with me, take your own advice.
Take my own advice. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, so that's why he's sitting in like 5,000 something. You're sitting in 338. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
No. But I mean, I said last week to everyone, buy Aiden Fanua-Blake and buy Gutho, and I didn't do either of them. It was so
Hey, you're sounding like Brad off our pod. He tells everyone who to bring in on his PPM articles, and he never does it himself.
I know. But what you say for one team might not always be.
It all depends on the balance of your team, of course.
Exactly. Yeah. So we'll get to it, guys. So with us tonight, we have Roscoe from Off the Bench, mate. Welcome back, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having me back. It's good to be back. I don't mind flicking between the two pods, of course. So yeah,
Especially after a good week, mate.
Yeah, it was a good week, $12.99. So can't complain. Moved up about 9,000 places to about 2,700. I've gone up like 32,000 places in 4 weeks. So guys, it just shows that you don't need to panic yet. It's far from over. You could be in 40k, 50k now. And I can tell you now, you've still got hope. You just need to nail that captain, nail that pod, trade in, and trust me, it can happen.
Yeah.
The buy rounds could be the perfect opportunity to pick up a lot of places.
Yeah, probably not as much as they used to be back in the day when they had the 17 players.
Yeah,
but still, people aren't going to have the right one. So it's definitely a place to make up some positions. So.
Yeah, well, I'm seeing a lot of people, bringing in numbers for 13 and then just bringing in numbers for the hell of it. And we all know that that's just a wasted number. You don't want to just have someone there to make up the numbers and then you're going to trade them out a week later. So, yeah.
That's it. And Glenn, mate, how was your week, mate?
Yeah, I went up 4K, so I got 1,171. I keep doing that, like up and down at the moment, but I'm very well sighted for going forward through the buys. So I've got really good numbers going forward. So that's where I've done my best in past seasons where it's been buy round. So I'm pretty confident. As you say, the 13 doesn't give you as much as an advantage as it used to, but I still think overall, if you get it down right, you still can come out ahead.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing I will get into a bit later as well is I think we mentioned before the pod about having been prepared for 13 as well as that backing up for 14 when there's actually 3 teams gone as well that we don't like. It's one of those sneaky little buys that not everyone's talking about. So
yeah.
I actually think that round 16 is the one that people should start focusing on too, because there's you're going to have all your Origin players out, and all those players that you've probably got in your team now that you're going to play 13 aren't going to play 16. Like I had a quick look the other day, and I think I've only got nine players or 8 players at the moment for round 16. Obviously, you've got time, but you need to be not just focusing on 13. You need to check 14. You need to check 16 as well.
Yeah, 16 and 20 will be the ones.
That's it. All right. Well, yeah, I had a pretty average week, but still managed to go up in a few spaces. I think I had 1127, so a bit lower than most, but I still managed to go up from 440 rank to 338. So pretty happy with that rank. Sitting nice and comfortably in top 500. So ready to make me pounce. All right, let's move on. We'll go to the Tragics overall group. So another shout out again. We're going to keep saying his name all year by the sounds of it. Sam from the Elite. He's in 15th overall, still winning the overall comp there, which is fantastic. And old mate Anthony jumped into 57th overall in second place for the overall comp. So going really strong there, guys. I'm catching you, so just be ready. I'm ready to catch this. So still quite a few points actually behind. I thought I was a bit closer actually. I think about like 150 points behind him. So. Yeah.
But that's nothing in the scheme of things.
Yeah. Well, these
That's
guys,
the
I
thing.
reckon these guys have been consistent now. These two guys have been very up there the whole time. I think their team's looking pretty good. So I reckon they're set for the run home too.
Because I looked the other day, and I'm only 150 points out of top 1,000, when I'm sitting in 1,700, so I'm 2,700. So there's not really much in it, really, at all.
No, I think towards the top end, like when you get up to like the top 100 and that, it gets a bit opens up a little bit. But yeah, when you're just outside the 1,000, I think it's actually pretty close to get up to 500, for example. So
yeah.
All right, let's move on to the games, boys. So first, Magic round, exciting. First game on Friday night, Bulldogs versus Canberra. I'll go to you, Glenn, for this one, mate. What are your thoughts on this game? Not much to
Yeah,
offer.
so I ran through a few numbers on this game because there's a few players that people are bringing in, which is Croker, Horse, Tarpany. They're the three from the Raiders that I think are interesting. And like Croker's had a 40, and a 69. And but Horse is the one. In the last three games, he's had a 71 minute, 71 minute, and 70 minute. And his scores have just been phenomenal. I'm sorry, I haven't written them down. 56, 62, 98. Sorry, the last three scores from 71, 71, 70. And with a low break even, I just think he's the one to chase. Everyone that's going for Tarpany, for 100K cheaper, you can get Horse. The only thing is we know what Tarpany will do for the whole season. We don't know if Horse's minutes will stay that way, but at the moment at 13, he's looking pretty good. And, sorry, and the last one was Croker. So they're the three. Sorry, I want to mention one from the other side. I've had repeated messages asking me to buy Cooper Johns, right? Let me just tell you his scores. 20, 17, 12, 21, 17. So let's get some of that, eh? Like, seriously. So I'm not going to answer any more people ask me about Cooper Johns. Just don't do it.
He only had that first good game when he played for Manly, and he's done nothing since. And obviously there's still a lot of talk around them signing Flanagan. So I think it'd be silly to trade in Cooper Johns. And period, whether Flanagan's coming or not, it's crazy.
And the other one, there's a pod there that you might want to grab, which is Rapana, but he's sort of priced up a bit now, so I don't know that he's the way to go. But if you're looking for a pod, Tomoko and Rapana, and even Sebastian Chris at fullback, have all been doing well. Sebastian Chris has crossed the line quite a few times this season, and if you watch him, his base is pretty good too.
Yeah, I found that at the start, I think he was adjusting to that fullback role and it wasn't doing too good, but I think he's starting to get a lot more game time there, a bit more practice, a bit more comfortable in that position. He's actually looking a lot better. So
yeah, his positioning in the first couple of games, he looked very out of place. When you play centre or wing, it's very hard to get used to being fullback, to come on left and come on right. But I watched him very close the last two games, and he is starting to drift left and right, which is where you need him to sweep.
One thing I just want to mention on that game with Croker trading, because we spoke about this on the pod yesterday, Dan, but I only got told this after the game. What's going to happen with Nick Kotrick when he comes back in? Because he's going to be back soon. Is that going to be a threat to Croker? Or what's going to happen with him? Like, I don't know whether to be worried about him or not.
Well, I'm still of the belief that they want to get Croker to 300 games. And not only that, I mean, Croker's actually been playing good. His base has been, well,
I've got no doubt about he hasn't been playing well. I just don't know what they're going to do with Kotrick.
Yeah, well, it's a good problem to have, isn't it, for the Raiders? But it's scary as the owners in Supercoach. But
one thing you could say as well is Kotrick's had a real bad run of every now and then injuries and stuff, so they might want to just rest him and then take their time. They have no need to rush him back and get him fully fit before he's ready to go. So
when Kotrick first came on the scene, he was a tackle bust beast, and none of that's happening.
As long as Croker plays 13, don't care what happens after that, really.
Yeah, that's right. 14. You want him for 13 and 14, mate?
Oh, yeah, of course.
All right, Roscoe, I'll go to the next game, mate. Manly versus Brisbane, mate. How's this one turning out?
This should be an interesting game. I think Manly get Parker back. They get Turbo back, but they lose Gerbo, which I think Gerbo's a massive out for them. just hold that defence up in the middle. I can see a world here where Walsh owners, if they can hold, I'd be holding. I've got a feeling he is in for a big game. Brisbane get Haas back, they get Ezra Mann back, so they need full strength. Could be a high scoring game, I think, but it all depends. I mean, we all know Turbo's not 100%, let's face it, but I just don't know how he's going to go. I mean, a fit Turbo, we know what he can do, but if he's not fully fit, what is he going to do? But I'm pretty happy, like you are as a Gary Connor, that he's back on the wing. Thank goodness for that. But that's where I see that. I mean, I wouldn't be buying any players from either of these two teams, that's for sure. But yeah.
Yeah, I think Garrick he's gone to the wing on probably the worst possible game. Like he's playing against a decent defensive side. So on the last two games, and he was not too good. So that's when you wanted him on the wing. So
well, is he up against Arthurs or is he up against
I think he's up against Cobbo and Stags.
Yeah, Stags. He's up against
Stags. So it might be a bit more challenging there because Cobbo, a bit more of a liability, but Stags can defend quite well. So. Yeah.
I have to disagree on there's nobody there that you would buy, though. I mean, I think Ezra Mann to buy. I think if you're looking for a pod 5'8", I don't hate Ezra Mann. The other thing I wanted to mention in this game is a lot of people are selling Reece Walsh this round. I personally wouldn't be doing it. I think if you're going to sell Reece Walsh, you should have done that 3 rounds ago.
100%.
This round, I think, especially with they're not just missing Gerbo, they're missing Sipley in the middle too. So they're very light in the middle. So I can see a scenario where Reece Walsh comes through the middle and scores after probably Adam Reynolds or Ezra Mann makes some sort of break. So I'd be holding Walsh this round, coach.
Yeah. Especially if you own Turbo too, I'd be selling Turbo before I sell Walsh.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think I've never had Walsh, and I've always been nervous playing in a head-to-head with a guy that has him. The last 2 games, I didn't feel nervous, but I actually feel nervous this time against Manly. So, yeah. Alrighty, Glenn, we'll move on to the next game, mate. New Zealand versus Penrith, mate. I reckon this is going to be a cracker of a game. Penrith haven't been that good. Warriors have been all right.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I like about this game is that to start with, I got 11.5 start for the Warriors. So again, I'm going to take the Warriors this week at the line. The other thing of interest in here is that a lot of people are talking about selling Cleary. I myself have toyed with the idea of going to Moses, and I'll talk about that later. Cleary scores, he's had 124 and 158, but the last 3 games, 86, 60 and 44, they're dropping without the goal kicking. And the 2 lower ones are without the goal kicking. And if I added up today, it's 60 points he's got in goal kicking, which is a lot of his extras, his plus power. So, I don't know. I that's my tip this week, go Cleary to Moses. And yet I don't know if I'm going to do it this week or if I'm going to do it next.
Yeah, I am so scared of having a head-to-head with the person having Cleary and me not. That's like a big fear for me to... And listen, like the Warriors, they're playing much better, and that's great. But remember what happened, I think it was last year, when the Broncos were that really good team, and then they just faded. They just went back to their old ways and started playing terribly. That could easily happen with the Warriors. And I'm a bit nervous about because I know the young coach, a new coach, I guess, could be any time now we could see a big score get put on the Warriors. And they're my second favourite team at the moment, so I don't see it happening. But
prior to last round, the Warriors have gave up 30 points in every game. So that's something to take of note. They've named a very good side, and they've got Tohu Harris back, Curran on the bench. They're still missing Tavanga, however you say his name. But I see points this side. That they're going left a lot. So I own Toho, and I'm tempted to play Taruva over Toho. I know that sounds insane because of the base of Toho. I'm not going to, but they're playing a lot of left, and I believe a lot of that's to do with they're overcompensating for the problem with Cleary and going to Luai more. Like he's just not the same Cleary.
No, it's definitely.
Well, his last 2 scores against the Warriors are 103 and 92.
Yeah,
and like you guys said, they've been leaking a lot of points. Obviously, last week they only leaked 14 in pretty horrible, tough conditions in New Zealand.
The Warriors are a completely different team at the moment. I mean, if anyone's bought the best this year, it's the Warriors. They're defending really well. I actually think this game will stay within 10. Like you all, I agree. I'm a nervous non-owner if I do it. But yeah, I don't see any buys in this game. Neither of these play. Warriors play round 13. Sorry, Aiden Fanua-Blake is the one that I suggested to go last week. I think Horse is a better buy just because he's 100,000 K cheaper. But Aiden Fanua-Blake won't play Origin. There's still a risk that Horse could. Unlikely,
especially if someone like Gerbo could be a bit more long term as well. There's a middle. It means there might be. I know Gerbo's still fighting for a spot in Origin too. Probably less likely, but if there's a middle spot opening, then Horse is doing a good buddy pleading his case.
Well, he's a Queenslander to start with.
Oh, is he? Okay.
No, Josh Papali's the guy that I could see possibly not playing. I mean, they're very loyal Queensland, so I think they'll stick with what they've got with the Tinos and co. But I can see a spot where Horse could play. Could make that side.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I'm looking for horses. I'm looking at horses at the moment. I'm actually after talking to Roscoe last night on the off the bench, I was decided I had enough money in the bank to go Stefano straight to Horse. I think that's that now I've got Haas, AFB, and Horse ready to go. So I'm pretty happy with that front row combination.
Very nice.
All right, Roscoe, next game, mate. Sharkies versus the Dolphins. Clearly a nice little captain choice here for Nico Hines, I reckon.
Yeah, I'm debating on whether I just BC someone in an earlier game or what I do, or if I just BC Hines. I'm a bit concerned about BCing someone later in the round, depending on how the ground holds up. I mean, obviously, it wasn't too bad last year after playing a few games, but there's a couple of captaincy options I like in the last game, but there'd be no way to loot in that last game. That's the thing. I mean, I've got Home Hunt or someone there. I could probably bring them in, but if all my reserves are played, then I have to look at potential way to do it. But I don't mind Fafita or Gutho as a pod captaincy option. But I mean, it's hard to get past them at the moment, isn't it? I mean, let's face it. I mean,
do you have an MPR, Ross? I mean, most people would have Schuster who plays before that game.
Well, I've got all the Newcastle players I can use.
Oh, absolutely right. Okay.
So I can use one of them, but I think I'll just BC someone in the earlier game. Maybe go Turbo and just take he has a bit of a run, or just go Hines. I don't know yet.
Yep.
I think the VC and the C numbers on Hines will be very high this round.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Definitely.
So one player I just want to mention in this game, well, there's two actually. So Ewan Aiken has been chugging along really nicely. He's available at centre. Branko Lee went down at training today. You probably read those reports, which could open up the door for Farah. I wouldn't be jumping on Farah now. They've got a bye next week, the Dolphins. But just before the bye, if he gets named for the bye round, 108 kilo centre, he's a beast. I really like Farah.
Yeah, when I was watching the trial matches, honestly, I thought he was out of position. I thought he was a front rower. He's huge. He's a big boy.
Yeah, he's like Alamotti.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I also I got in my draft. I got in one of my drafts. I've got Ronaldo, who's plotting along real nice at the moment. So that's a out there crazy pod. But he's not playing a bye round. I'm pretty sure, so I wouldn't be jumping on.
Well, he plays 14 and plays.
Yeah, it's a lot of money to not have on your team for round. If you jump on 14, but he's still quite expensive. He's in the high sevens, I believe. So yeah.
I guess the Dolphins play round 13. But I don't know if I'd be trading anyone in from the Dolphins. I know that we'll talk about it on the trade team. There's a lot of people chasing Lumi's points from last week. And at his price, I think he's pretty much nearly peaked now. Other than that, I mean, JMK is not a bad option as a trade in, but I'd probably wait and not trade Harry. If you're going to do Harry Grant to JMK, I wouldn't do it this week. I've got a feeling Grant's going to score well this week.
I think JMK is priced out, mate. Ross, he's quite 690, I think, from memory. That's fairly pricey.
Is he that much now? I don't know. I picked him up a couple of weeks ago.
And not only that, looking at the side, I think there's a chance that Nicarima could play at hooker this week. So I'd be nervous of that one. And I agree with you on Lumi. I would not be touching him now. He's sort of priced out. He averages around 40, 45 without those tries. So,
we did mention, as I said to Dan on the other pod last night, that we did tell people not to jump on Robert Jennings too. And people still did. So
there's a couple of cheapies really showing their face in centre wing at the moment. You don't need to hang around those risky ones. You know what I mean? Like we just mentioned, Tafari.
You got Buller as well.
Croker. Bono Buller's fullback only, but he's still cheaper you can grab. And then you've got another person who I think is probably he's been not spoken about that enough, really. He's for the next 8 weeks, you're probably going to have Peachy as well playing centres. He's going to get Jules soon. Yeah. So I don't mind that. But there's too many options there to really risk it on someone like that.
Yeah, definitely.
The draw's not favourable for Peachy, but I do agree with you. I mean, he doesn't like to pass, so he's good for Supercoach.
Yeah. All right, Glenn, move on to the next one, mate. I'm looking forward to this game, mate. Melbourne versus South. Oh, be a cracker of a game.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually tipping South to win this game. I think they'll beat Storm. I mean, the sit starts here. I wouldn't be playing Warbrick in this game. The South are defending edges very well. What they are doing is instead, usually they rely on going left to Tass and Johnson in previous years. This year they're not doing that, and you'll know, Ross, because that's the reason you're doing well. Is Campbell Graham. They're playing right a lot, and Campbell Graham is just busting through. I wouldn't be chasing Campbell Graham now. He's a very big chance to play Origin.
Yeah.
Huge chance. And those that are talking about host don't do it. But what I do like from this is Cameron Murray is slowly dropping down. So by the time we get to the time of grabbing him, he should be at a price that we really like. But nothing to buy here, just a love of a great game of footy we're going to see.
Yeah.
He even at the price he's at the moment, he would be cheap after Origin, but not like him want to see from him. I mean, he's playing 70 minutes and pumping out 40. Now I know he got binned last week, but he's not producing the points.
Their draw will open up, mate. Cook and Murray will be, in my opinion, chasers on the way home. That when the Souths will be churning, their draw opens up there for a really nice draw. And Murray's, I really like Murray. They've had a pretty rough, some rough games.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. He hasn't been churning out what he normally does. He hasn't been doing very like things.
That's it. All right. Next game, we got you, Roscoe, mate. The emergent Tigers versus the Dragons. I reckon the Tigers, honestly, I'm not sure what's happening with Dragons at the moment, but I think Tigers might have a number. You'll probably never hear me say this again. Tigers might win this one.
It's official. The Tigers have just been jinxed by Badonkadonk.
That's it, mate.
They've just been donked.
I have a bit of a hatred towards them because they're maybe 2-year premiers, doing all right. Okay, you guys wooden spoon last year and then haven't won a game all year, and all of a sudden you beat it. So I got to put Jinxer on you somehow. So it's too late.
Buller's the most bought in this round.
Yeah, he's
about 12,000 traded in, which I don't know about this trade. It's such an easy cash grab, but it's not. I mean, I've got. It's different for me. I've got Latrell and I've got Gutho at fullback, so it's not for me. But for those who are selling Turbo, if you're going to Turbo to Buller, I don't mind it to free up cash if you're going to sprinkle up elsewhere. But as we said last night down on our pod, I would not be selling Walsh to Buller, and I've seen a lot of people doing that. I know you can bank 550k, but just don't do it.
It's a ceiling spot. I've got Latrell and Tedesco. That's your ceiling. You can really get big scores from your fullback.
Well, even with me, right? So with me, I've got Latrell and Scartho there at the moment. When Latrell plays Origin, I can pull down Garrick to fullback. I can pull down Hammer to fullback. He doesn't cover 13. I don't know. I'm not a fan of it, but I can see why people are doing it.
I'll tell you why. The only way I'd agree with this trade, and this is the situation that I'm kind of in, is if you get someone like Taruva or you've got Warbrick. Because I was stupid enough to go to Sloan last week from Turbo. So if I go take Taruva out, move Sloan up, and then bring in Buller, I don't mind that way, but I wouldn't be going a gun fullback straight. I wouldn't even go Turbo to Buller. I think you go Turbo up.
So we got 330 people following us, just so you know.
Awesome.
That's nearly Dad's ranking.
Follow Dan McGrath.
Other than that, there's not really much else from this game in place to buy. I know Dragons play round 13. I know that I've seen there's a lot of people jumping on. Is it Max Fee guy that's only played one game?
Yeah, don't
do it because Lomax will probably come back into the team maybe next week or two, but you're not even going to get price wise out of him.
And even if he doesn't, Moga will.
Yeah, Moga's coming back
Well,
too.
you
So
have to think one of them come
yeah.
back.
That's right. So, I mean, look, Max Figai, though, and Matthew Figai are really good. The interesting question this week is to who goal kicks. And there's been a few names thrown around, which is Sloan, Matthew Figai kicks, Hunt kicks, and so does Jack Bird. So, but there is one player in here I would trade in, and that is Jack Bird.
Yeah.
I think Jack Bird's been phenomenal. Another one you can play at centre wing. Sometimes that base of 60 is just excellent to have a consistent score each week, and plays 13 and 14. Like, it's pretty handy.
I'd like to, you know, I like the trading too. You know, I know Timmy did it a couple weeks, about 3 weeks ago, bench, and but they keep moving him around from lock to the edge, and you know, they're one injury away from playing him into the centres too. Like, you know, he's that versatile. So I don't know if I do it now. I think he's a bit expensive now. He's gone up a bit in price, I think. Yeah, I think to be honest with you, Glenn, I think you know he's going to goal kick. I think we'd love to see Blake Lawrie do the goal kicking.
Yeah, he does everything else for the Dragons. So
That'd be interesting.
I love it.
He got to score tries first, though. Remember,
Just on the Tigers, not Supercoach related, but geez, how good is Junior Tupou? I just love watching the way he brings that ball back.
Running hard. Well, you kind of had that. You've had that for so long, having that solid ball runner. Like, you've had Nofo do it. You've had even Mamala do it a couple of times as well. And it's like you guys need to have that solid ball runner. It'd be much better though if they could do something similar to what the Panthers do, where the first 4 tackles off a kick return are just centers and wingers. That would free up your big forwards to do whatever they have to do and defend. And I think they're starting to do that, which is going to look really good. So I think Tigers only way is up, I guess.
The one good thing about the Tigers is I've won 3 weeks in a row on them betting at the line. I don't know why, but the bookies just don't seem to understand that the Tigers haven't let in only once of 100 Supercoach scores. So be careful if you've got players playing against the Tigers. They defend really well. They just don't have points in them. That's our issue at the moment. But our defence is actually solid. So I personally, if you can not play Sloan, although I don't know, I wouldn't be playing many backs against the Tigers at the moment. I just think they're defending that well.
Alrighty. It's weird that we spent more time on a West Tigers game than we did the Melbourne South game, but we'll move on to the next one, guys.
What do you expect when you got 2 Tigers supporters on the pod, Dan?
That's harsh.
We get excited, mate, when we finally won a game, okay?
That's it. Go home, pack up. That's it. A job done. Let's go.
That's it.
All right, go. I'm not sure who I was up to. I think that was Roscoe. So I go to Glenn. Sydney Roosters versus the Cowboys. Roosters might put a number on the Cowboys, I think, because I know that they love playing at Suncorp.
Absolutely. And look, if you're looking for someone to captain in this game, Tedesco could be your man. Like vice captaining Hines and see Tedesco. So I've got Tedesco on my side as my fullback, and I'm really loving him this week. I also think Manu through the middle. The Cowboys have been really horrible in the middle. And, you know, having said that, I mean, people are selling Valentine Holmes. I do agree it's probably time to do now based on the draw going forward and Origin. I wouldn't be buying anyone from there. Gozgoski, or how you say him, Goz?
Jetski. Just say Jetski.
Jetski.
Jetski. He's probably the only one points per dollar that could be a possible way if you need to trade down to trade up.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, I got him ages ago, thinking how long Lolo was out for. It was a nice downgrade so I could upgrade someone else. And when I was like, Lukey's back, I'm freaking out, hoping that we get to the buy round. And now Nanai is suspended to around 14. So I was like, yes, how good. On you, Nanai.
Well, Lukey is interesting. I actually forgot to mention Lukey. Lukey is a chance. Sorry, Ross, I didn't mention Coach.
No, you're right. That's okay.
I don't know what price Lukey is, but I'll be looking at that because if he plays right through to round 13, he won't play Origin. He could be someone of interest.
And I haven't seen him, but I know he had a pretty low break even because his last score he got before he was India was 77. So he had a pretty low break even, I'd assume too.
I just want to touch on Holmes and sorry, Glenn, I've got to disagree with you on this one. Break even 69, plays Roosters. If you can sit him out, I would, but he's got Tigers and Dragons next 2 games.
Like I said, Tigers are defending backs really well.
But how long do they keep doing it for, though? This is the thing.
Done it for 9 rounds. But yeah, look, I mean, it's fair. But I mean, I can tell you now something that I did that stuffed me up. I built for my side against the Tigers, and I've been stuffed up with the Manly game and the Panthers game.
I don't worry about it. I did the same thing. I bought in Garrick and I sold Holmes to Garrick and captain Garrick. So I
I had 6 Panthers in that matchup the other day. 6 of them. You know, Toho, Saruva, Hoskins. Yeah, I had them all, and it was ugly.
I think everyone did.
Yeah.
A lot of people had a lot of players in that game.
Yeah. Well, what I'm doing with Holmes is I'm just going to hold until right before that round 13 bye, and that way I can trade into a gun that I know is going to play in that 13. So I'm going to look for a potential pod in that position because I think I feel, even though he didn't get the best score last week, I still feel safe having Holmes in my team.
Yeah.
He's not going to let me down too often. So
It's fair.
Well, he's other than his 105. He's still averaging around about 60, and he's not even really doing anything.
yeah, that's
I mean,
right.
obviously, goal kicking helps. He'll get a few points out of goal kicking, but he's still averaging 63.4.
Actually, I forgot a stat for you here. So the Roosters have let the winger in on the left wing every round bar last round, and they've let the second rower in as well. So on the left side. But having said that, the way they've got their team set at the moment, with Manu in the middle, they've got Gus back to Silly Tupanua. They really looked good in defence last week, and so I'm expecting that show again. But look, you might be right, Roscoe. My advice is he's probably a sell now. Ross's is it isn't. We'll see how it plays out. I mean, all what you said is valid.
Yeah, look, I think we've both got its ups and downs.
One other player here of interest. How much is Drew Hutchison? Do you know?
Oh, he's quite cheap, I'm pretty sure. He hasn't had the best score. He's been on and off the bench. That's why he's getting low score.
Coming in and out of the team, I don't think you would go him.
Yeah. He's dual 5'8". He'd be interchangeable.
He's handy for drafts.
Well, Manu will be too soon. Next round. Just for those that don't know, next round, all of the duels will be added, like Manu and a whole heap of others.
I'm not sure if Manu's been confirmed yet. But I know he's on the watch list. Yeah.
Oh, he's round 12.
Yeah. I will. One thing you mentioned before, and I noticed this by watching the game, because you guys know I'm not more of a stats guy. I'm more of an eye test guy. And I was watching the Dragons Roosters game. That was the first game that the boys came back, the big heavy boppers, and they were tearing apart the Dragons were tearing apart that right, or the defensive left edge. So they were going down the right side and tearing apart the Roosters. I think that's been a common theme. So if you're going to have a player on that right side, I think so. They're going to go the other way. They're not going to go home to the side. I'll go to the other side. Yeah. So that's something to keep in mind. But instead of, like you said, mentioned before as well, last week they were different. They were a bit more solid in defence. So hopefully they utilise Holmes a bit better. So
yeah, that's right.
Awesome. All right, last game, Roscoe. Gold Coast versus Parramatta, mate. There's some big things to talk about here with a few different changes.
Yeah, high scoring game. I can see this one being. I mean, there's plenty of tradings, I think, for this game. Gutho is a good option. Moses as well. Dylan Brown, if you don't have him. There's so many players you could bring in from Para. I mean, Penasini, sneaky pod as well. If you want someone a bit more premium that will get you decent scores. Hopwood's the one I want to talk about because obviously a lot of people are trading him in this week, and I was looking at him, but I'm not convinced. With Maddo on the bench, I really don't know what sort of minutes Hopwood's going to play. Do they put one of them onto an edge and Davey doesn't play 80? I don't know. I can't see what they're going to do there with him.
I went through the numbers today, actually, on Hopgood and on Maddo. And interestingly, so as you know, when Hopgood plays big minutes, his points per minutes is insane. He's at 101, 124, didn't start 45. Started 77, then again didn't 47, 48, 61, 43. Then last week when Maddo was out, 109. But the interesting statistic was Maddo, even starting from the bench, has averaged 71 minutes.
That's what I'm saying. That's why
I think Maddo will start.
But that doesn't affect Hopgood, because people are looking
at
Hopgood.
So what, one of them go to the prop then and Liam McGregor will go to the bench, or what? Or does Davey go to the bench?
What I think happens is that Hopgood will... Well, there's a chance that Maddo could go to second row and Hopgood starts, but I don't believe that's what's going to happen. I believe that Maddo will start, Hopgood will go back to the bench, and then Hopgood will play through the forwards, like I said it would happen 3 weeks ago. That's my guess. It's not... It's, it could play out...
Yeah.
It's
just trying to put me off buying Hopgood this week. You know what I mean?
Well, I'll give you some pros. So the pros are that he's been averaging 45 minutes when he does play from the bench, and his points per dollar, his PPM is he's been getting 46, 47, 44 in 45 minutes. So with a break even of, 24, and in his rolling average of 109, he should still make you good money. So it's not a terrible trade. Even if he doesn't get the minutes that you're hoping for, he'll still make you money and play round 13. Although I still believe he's a chance to play for Queensland. It's between him and Horse who gets that other spot.
Hopgood's definitely playing in his case too, I think.
Well, I'm looking at him myself, mate. I was another one that I looked at last week. I won't even tell you who I bought in.
That's it. All right, as the game's wrapped up, because that was the only question I had, but we kind of answered it already. Was that was pretty much because I got Maddo on my team, and I'm still going to play him, so on the bench. Glenn?
Sorry, Ross. There's a couple other things I did want to mention. So Clint Gutherson, all those that are jumping on Gutherson, he scored 3 tries with the try assist and still only got 113. That's not overly good, but I still like Gutherson. Their draw is insane. If you look at it, just let me find it here for you. Sorry, Moses. So they're playing Titans, Raiders, Souths, Cows, Dogs, Manly, Dolphins, Warriors, Titans, Cows. So in that, they've only got one, which is Souths, and all them other matchups are really good for Dylan Brown, Gutho, and Moses. I wouldn't be owning all 3. The last thing I wanted to say was Will Penasini is the one I really like. If you're a betting person, first try scorer Will Penasini, and also put any time just in case that doesn't happen, because I believe he will score.
Hey, you've said first time for the last 5 weeks, haven't you?
What's that, mate? I nailed the first try scorer in 3 of the last 5 rounds.
Oh, boy.
And Penasini was one of them.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's hard to judge first try scorer too.
Yeah, if you actually check, he scored first try twice this year.
Well, Dan got it last week, Dan, Dylan Brown.
Yeah, I won the off the bench overall score, and then I got the bonus bet, so I split the bonus bet up into 5 and chucked a 5 bonus bet on D-Bags to get first try scorer and got it. So
Got it. Well done.
Yeah.
Nice.
I love putting on a half. I always think the halves or second rollers tend to do pretty good when it comes to good value worth there. So
yeah.
All right, guys. Did we have any questions, Glenn? I thought that in the Facebook.
Oh, we did.
Yeah. So
half a second. Sorry, guys.
All good.
Yeah, so Bradley Baxter. I have Fafita and Katoa and Preston Hosking Ford in my second row. I'm thinking of just keeping this or upgrading someone to Nakora. Who would be the one to go, and is the upgrade worth it? My tip would be Madison. So they're looking for someone that's a second rower.
To upgrade to or to sell?
To sell. So he said, I have Fafita, Katoa, Preston, Hosking Ford in my second row. I'm thinking of just keeping this, or should I upgrade someone to Nakora? I like Nakora, man. I really love Nakora. I don't hate that at all.
I'd be out of that bunch. I'd be selling Preston if he's talking about someone to sell.
Yeah, okay, that's probably what he was asking.
Yeah, because Preston he's scoring okay, but he's not playing the buy round. I know he's playing 14 and stuff, but yeah, he's out of that round 13 clash. So he'd be the first one to go. I got a similar second roll with myself, and I'll be offloading Preston first, I think. But I'm thinking about just because he's not hurting me. I'm thinking about holding him for that second buy round.
Yep.
And just having him there because he's not really hurting. I didn't pay much for him, so even though there's cash on the bench there, I never paid that for him. So yeah.
And he went off it last week with a HIA. He was scoring quite nicely until he still scored relatively well anyway.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, awesome. All righty, so let's go into trade talk. So I'll start with you, Roscoe, mate. What trades are we looking at, mate?
At the moment, I've only gone to Ruva to Crocus, my only trade at this stage. I'm probably going to make another trade, but I'm not sure where I'm going to go and what I'm doing yet. But I don't have to make another trade, so I may just hold and just do that one.
Yeah, I like it. Glenn?
Yeah, I'm bringing in Horse. At the moment, that's my only confirmed trade, although I'm considering Moses for Cleary. And if I do that, it means that I can bring someone much smaller up. I think that's the only one I'm getting, those Horse for this round.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I had 2 options that I was going through. The first one is very basic, and that's just Stefano to Horse, get an extra number for that buy round. The other option, which would be more, I guess, so I got a bit of money in the bank as well, was to downgrade Stefano to someone like a player playing in the round 13 buy, like might get extra minutes, it's still cheap, like someone like Palisade. Who that way I can have him for that buy round, there's a bit extra points there. And that would only be to go Warbrick into Gutho. by moving Sloan up, and that would give me Latrell and Gutho. But I think at the moment where I'm sitting, I think I need to save the trades. So I think I'll just stick with having Sloan at fullback for now, and then look at because he's still got a pretty low break even there as well. So I can probably upgrade him a bit later on. He's still 500k with a low break even, so I can definitely upgrade him to a decent fullback later on.
And plenty of people trading him out too, I saw, which is silly.
I think it's funny because they all traded him in last week. He was one of the highest trades in last week. He got a crap score, trade him out, Sloan.
Yeah.
All right, vice captain and captain choices. We'll start with you, Roscoe.
Well, captaincy's definitely on Hines. VC, I don't know yet. Maybe Turbo. I'll have a bit more of a closer look at it later on.
Glenn?
Yeah, VC, Hines, Captain Turbo. Tedesco, sorry.
Cool. Yeah. I haven't got Teddy, so I like the idea of having a player playing towards the end. So I like the idea of VCing Hines, but I'm also concerned with the loop. I looped last week for the first time in about probably 2 years, so I was pretty happy with the results. But I am going to throw my VC away this week, put it on Haas just because he's playing early, and I'm chucking the captain on Hines. Yeah. I think that's so. I'm not going to. I never VC Haas. I think hasn't got a ceiling big enough to VC, but I'm doing it because I want to captain Hines.
Yeah, I straight seed Hines last week, and it was sort of advantageous to me because of a lot of people having the AE of Mole, so I avoided that issue.
Yeah, I was kind of lucky, even though I have Dumpster in my team. He still got 25, which is not as bad as what a lot of people had Mole. People had Jennings as well, who were pretty low. It was pretty low as well. So I was actually quite happy that 25 to me was good. Nice. I was nervous about having Alamonte play in the last game, and I was like, "Oh, I want to get a decent score, mate." And he got 38, so it looks sweet. I only need 25 points. All you need. Awesome. All right. Do we have any bold predictions, guys?
I do. Tedesco to go 120.
Cool.
Last week's one was horrible. I went Sawali. Get 45, I think.
I don't. Oh gosh, I can't even think right now what to do. I reckon Cleary can go like 120 or so this week, even without the goal kicking. I'm gonna call him to bounce back, and I'm gonna say Walsh will turn up as well this week.
I like it. Awesome. Well, I like the sound of both those because you got horse. I like that as well. I'm going to go a bit different. Not too different, but I'm going to go combination of Teddy and Manu at 250.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
I like that. I think Dylan Brown could have a big round, and even David Fafita with the Eels who are leaking to that spot as well.
Yeah,
good round this one.
Well, all these predictions are making me feel good, except for the Teddy ones. I haven't got Teddy, but I don't
have Walsh either. So
I got Horse, I got D-Brags, I got Cleary, I got Hines, Manu.
Can I just tell you a stat also? So Latrell Mitchell, in his last 7 games at Suncorp, has scored a try in every single one of them. In his last 3, he scored 9 tries, I think it is, or 4. 9 tries. But he is playing the Storm this week.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, he's just been on fire at Suncorp Stadium. He has a really good record of playing there.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get up there and watch him play. To be honest with you, some of these games. It's going to be absolute crackers. They really are. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Awesome, guys. Well, that pretty much wraps everything up. So thank you, Roscoe, from off the bench, mate, jumping on. Always good to have you on.
No problems at all. And if anyone's up at Magic Round and they want to catch up for a beer, send me a message. I'll be up there for the 3 days.
Your shout.
Yeah, I'm feeling rich.
I love it. Awesome. Fantastic. And thanks, Glenn, also, mate. Awesome. I'm taking your advice again, so I'm hoping you do the same. So good luck this week and hope everyone gets some green arrows.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.
So you want to be a champion? Oh, no. Now the knee. Well, that was it. Manu, what's he done there? He's sold the dummy with a knee injury. It's a fake knee injury. Manu set up and thrown for Momirovski.
It's the next tackle. He gets an offload. He goes back and gets the football. Probably feels a cramp coming on in the back of his calf. And then just takes off.
Oh, what a beauty. So, You pick which has been the better moment. The bloke kicking the ball back from the traffic at the southern end, or Manu, the cramp, the fibber, and takes off to set up a try.